But I want to go ahead and begin by sharing with you what we'll cover in this session and talking a little bit step by step about the changes that we've made to Galileo here as we begin. We have substantially changed and not the way that you log into Galileo. You still, on the K12 side, are using the Galileo password, but we have added some institution-specific options to help users find their institution and log in. This will support us later when we move K12 to single sign-on, which is a project that has been ongoing. We're just now finishing up the academic institutions. It's a long road to hoe, but we're getting there on that, and we'll be moving K12 Galileo to single sign-on hopefully in the next year or so. But that'll be something we talk about, just logging in, what the page looks like, what navigation options are there. We've added some new navigation options for you. We'll be talking about specifically the K12 views. That's something that we have retained in the K12 Galileo environment, are different views with an elementary, high school, middle school, and we've added a new view called the educator view, which is designed to provide a page where teachers and media specialists can go to search everything that you have access to and to really focus in on any professional development needs that you have as a teacher or as a media specialist, or if you're assisting someone with those needs, like a student teacher. We wanted to make sure that those resources, which are available to you through Galileo for that, were highlighted in some way. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the new database search. We've improved the way that we do both our database search and our database lists, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about another new feature that we've added called the Spotlight, which isn't really a new feature, but it is an updated feature in that the Spotlight is now customizable. What we've done is we've made it so that a school system can add up to 6 unique resources to their Galileo site. We'll dig into that more when we actually look at the page in a bit. Our database lists, we've done some changes there that will be helpful to students as they look for different places to do their research. We've made some improvements to our support forms and our support pages. And we've made some improvements to our About Galileo page and our Galileo tools and training pages, including adding some video trainings and an easier to navigate list of the various trainings and tutorials that we offer, both from Galileo and from our vendors, and we'll talk about that. And then we'll make sure that you all have plenty of time to ask any questions as we go through. So as I mentioned, I do have a lengthy slide presentation, but I tend not to use most of it because most of everything I want to share with you is best done via live demo. So I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting the slide deck right now, and I'm just going to move out to live demo. And another great thing that Mike is super helpful with is letting me know what page he's seeing. Hopefully he's going to be seeing in just a second the brand new Galileo welcome page.
Yep, I see it.
Thank you so much, Mike. This is the new Galileo welcome page, and I am going to step by step through it today, top to bottom, and share with you the new features that are available to you. So we'll start by going to start at the top. So this button, as it has always done, this Galileo logo, will always take you back to the home page. Right now we're in the login page, so it's always going to take us back there. But if you were in another page in the Galileo environment, this logo will always take you back to, in this case, the Galileo welcome page. If you're logged in, it'll take you back to the Galileo main search page. We wanted to make sure that we made it easy for any user to come in and learn about the new features and functionality with Galileo. Everything from how they're logging in differently to how they're where things are on the page that you might be used to finding. Our initial launch of Galileo was designed to very much parallel what was there before, although things may be slightly different or in a slightly different place, just to kind of improve the aesthetics of the page and to improve the overall user experience. And that's one thing I want to emphasize today. We are not finished. Galileo kind of lay dormant for a long time and was just the same for years and years and years and really didn't evolve with the times. And that is a philosophy that is definitely changing at Galileo. We plan to iterate different changes over time and continue to do improvements over time based on the feedback that we get from you all as media specialists and teachers, and from everyone we get feedback from in the Galileo community. We want to be responsive and nimble and do new and different things. So you may find some parallels, and you may find things that are pretty much in the same place, and you may not notice a ton of new and different features right now, but we have completely redesigned the back-end infrastructure, and we'll talk a little bit about that and give some context for that in a bit. And the page, we're having some issues with speed right now, but overall the page is much speedier. The page is on a better development infrastructure. It's just a better programmed page, and I think it looks a lot better too. I look forward to opinions on that as we go through. But let me go ahead and get started out. The next thing you see is the What's New button. And this is just a guide. This will guide them through, a person through what they need to do to log in. And as I mentioned, we've added what we call our institutional wayfinder to the main page in support of single sign-on in the future. So we will be able to provide people with a very direct link to your Galileo page as desired, but I'll show you some of the benefits of the single sign-on piece with the Find Your Institution option as well. So search for your institution, and then you'll get your login screen. In this case, it'll just be for K12 schools, still just be their Galileo's password screen. Next, you'll see they can still put in their password. You scroll down the page, and if a student knows their Galileo password, they just pop it in and go. We wanted to make sure that we accounted for that because that's still a way that a lot of users log into Galileo, and we wanted to make sure that they knew that option was there. And then finally, we've added and updated, as I mentioned, our support pages, and I'll take a look at those with you in just a moment. And we did add this new login button, which doesn't do much except for take you back to the login page when you're on the login page, but it does turn into a log out button on other pages, and it makes sense as a login button on other pages as well. But just wanted to point that out to you. We've added that. So if I want to log in as a K12 institution, there's several different ways that I can approach this. I can search for my school at the system level. So I'm going to log in as Henry County Schools right now. But I also can search, I see here, Bethlehem Elementary School. If I wanted to log in as Bethlehem Elementary School, I can. And I'll make some qualifiers for that in just a minute. So there's Bethlehem Elementary School in Barrow and Bethlehem Elementary School in Henry. So to make some clarifications here, we still authenticate everyone at the school system level. So just because we've listed schools in here doesn't mean there are now individual school Galileo accounts. It still means that you're authenticating at the school system level, but we just wanted to create a new opportunity for students to find what they're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Bethlehem Elementary School, Henry County, and I can go ahead and put in that Galileo password there for them. So you see how that looks. One of the benefits of them choosing their school, this is where the rubber meets the road with this, because for a minute you're probably saying, why bother with this? Why not just go and enter the password? Well, one thing we've done, if we know what type of school the school is, so we saw Bethlehem Road Elementary School, I can log students into the appropriate Galileo view without having to even think about it. They start, if they're logging in through Henry County Schools as an elementary school, the system knows that they are an elementary school login because they chose that school, and it immediately gives them the elementary school page. I'm going to go through all the views in more detail in a few minutes, but I just wanted to share that with you initially to show you that's one of the benefits of logging in. And we'll talk about changing back and forth between views and the differences in the different views in a little bit. But again, just focusing in on the login piece. Another thing that we've done, as teachers or media specialists, you may be affiliated with multiple Galileo institutions. You may also have student teachers who are enrolled who are working at Henry County Schools, but they may also be enrolled at the University of Georgia in classes. So in that case, they would be able you see that my recent selections are saved. So if I'm student teaching at Bethlehem Elementary and I need to access my academic account for UGA, I'll have those selections right there for me so that I can go back into different institutions to meet my different needs. is I'm working in Galileo. So that's another of the benefits of the Find Your Institution Wayfinder that we've added to Galileo here. And I'll just show you just as an example. I'll use that UGA example. If I just chose, you can search for all institutions, or you can limit to a particular type of institution. So I'm going to search for University of Georgia here, just to show you what I mean. I have left my workday at Bethlehem Elementary, and now I'm going to sign on to my UGA resources, and it's going to route me to single sign-on instead of a Galileo password. That's all I mean. That's what it looks like, and that's the difference. And had I logged in, it would have saved my recent logins here, so that I could, continue to access both of those things.
Hey, Russell,
Yep.
there was a question that came in. Does this mean that I'll get data about my specific school if they sign in that way?
Unfortunately, not yet, but that is coming with single sign-on. When we do implement single sign-on for different schools, we will be able to track statistics for different schools. I'll have to ask Brad Baxter, and Mike, you may, having spent more time with the admin team, know this, that he may be doing some stats on accesses via the Wayfinder from different schools, and I can look into that and see. But do you remember, Mike, off the top of your head, whether he's doing anything like that?
I don't recall. I know
I
that
honestly don't either.
I think that when we see a session, we can tell that you're logged in as what view you're in, middle school, right, high school, or But as far as tracking a stat, I believe it's still tracking it at a district level, not at a site level.
Right.
I
mean, we wouldn't be able to tell them. That's what I'm saying. We might not be able to tell you much. We might be able to tell you how many logins came from that particular school, and I would have to look into that. But we still can't really do, database statistics down to the school level yet. But we hope to be able to do that in the not too distant future. Thanks, Mike. That was helpful. All right. Any other questions before we move forward, Mike? And I can't see the chat. Hopefully that answer was good for you, but let me know if there's any follow-up there as well, Mike.
Yeah, there was a follow-up. The number of logins from a school would be data that helps justify the media specialist.
Sure. I will ask about that for sure. I don't know that we're charting that, but it might be something that we can do or think about doing, and we'll see, and I will definitely look into it. That's a great question. We've been doing a lot of work, and I don't remember everything. Mike and I both don't remember every single thing that we talked about with this. That's data we might be able to provide, and we'll certainly look into it. Great question.
If the only downside of that is, if we did that using the Wayfinder, we would know remote access, remote logins. But if someone's at school, we don't have each individual school's IPs mapped to know which IPs belong to which school. But hopefully with Open Athens in the future, that's something we'll be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I wanted to mention to that, and Mike just hit on this too, you're wondering, well, what happens? What view do I get if I'm logging in or if I'm just accessing on campus? And I'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes so that you'll see what happens then when I talk about views, because Mike reminded me of that. Thank you, Mike. All right, well, let's go ahead. And as I mentioned, we do have, just wanted to point out again, the what's new on each page, but those are your options for logging in. And I'm going to go ahead and log in as a K12 school. I'll go ahead and use that Bethlehem Elementary route and log in here. But you see, as Mike mentioned, it still logs me in at the district level. It just knows that I'm in that elementary school view. So some additional things that we changed, and I just want to show you a couple things that are on the larger Galileo scope that we've done. As I mentioned, we've done vast improvements to our support pages. We have rewritten, trimmed down, and redone many of our support articles. So if you're looking for something, like for example, oh, well, Russell's talking about these K12 views, and what does that mean to me? So I can go ahead and click search, and we have several articles about how do I access the elementary, middle, and high school views in Galileo search if I want to find that. We've done an FAQ with screen captures, and you can see what that looks and what you get with the different views and how you toggle back and forth between different views there in the FAQs. So we wanted to do a much better job with the support pages in terms of the frequently asked questions, so that you would have good support articles to help you before you have to submit a support request. But additionally, we've added here, we want to make sure that kids get back to their library if they need research help. I mean, we can give them some degree of help and point to resources, but we generally try to defer things that are reference questions back to the library or the school. So we have a note here: staff at your library can help to identify the most useful databases, etc. So we can go ahead and have them click on this list of libraries, and then they can go to their K12 libraries. And you see that we point to the school systems and superintendent's page there so that they can find their school. For technical issues, we've updated our support forms. So we have now two different forms, really. We have a technical issues form. We've made some improvements to these forms. I gave good credit to Mike White for his feedback on these and really guiding this process. But we've added a space. One of the things that we found most commonly they were doing when we responded to questions from support was, well, did you see an error message? So we added that to the form to kind of cut down on the email back and forth that we have with people that submit support tickets. And another item that we added were attachments. We had initially had just one attachment, and I've seen people do elaborate documents so that they could, add a bunch of attachments to a Word document and send it all at once. In this case, you can at least do 3 attachments quickly on the fly without having to aggregate them into a single document. So we have expanded the number of attachments that you can submit here, and that should be helpful to those of you when you need to ask us for something or something isn't working right and we need to get some diagnostic information from you. We've created a form here, recreated a form here that will let us get a lot more information into that initial request. And I've had the pleasure of doing staff development days at many K12 schools. I always enjoy doing that, and I always welcome that request. Well, that's one of the things that you can use in our general questions and concerns, our customer relations form. If you want to recommend a resource for Galileo, or if you want to give us feedback or you need some materials for marketing like bookmarks or other things, or if you want to request training, on-site training or face-to-face or live online training, depending on what we're doing in the next few months, you can make those requests here just by choosing what you want, giving some description to what you want. And we've also added the options for 3 attachments here also in the support forms area. Any questions coming through, Mike? I see one chat. Just making sure.
Nope, no questions.
Okay, thank you. So again, the much improved support area. Now I want to go ahead and show you the different views and toggling between the views, and I'll point to some of the new features on a view-by-view basis. One of the things that we did was we did a substantial audit of what was in the search, the Discover search on each of the K12 pages. And we found some things that just really, we didn't think there shouldn't be any issues. We're not trying to censor content, but we're not trying to limit access to content. There are absolutely ways to get access to all the content, but at the same time, we felt like that the Discover search was getting really cluttered up by some things that just weren't going to help K5 kids to find something that they wanted or that could be useful to them when they use the Discover search. So we went through everything, and I think, and we can continue to work on this, but I think you'll see an improved search. Gosh, I don't know how many 5th graders search for global warming, but just to show you what the results look like. Gosh, why is it doing that? I need to tell Brad about that. It may well be doing that prompt for a password again because I've been logging into multiple institutions here in the last few minutes, but just we continue to work on solving some things. So global warming was my search. Still got a lot of results. We're still finding a lot of things, but hopefully these results are going to be things that are more useful in the K5 environment. You see it's searching newspaper source. It's searching the ebook K8 collection. So it is targeting in on those K5 resources to some degree better than it was previously. So just wanted to share that as one of the things that we did was to kind of look at that Discover search, make sure that we made some improvements to it. We also obviously did new images on each page, and we worked with a design company to create images with some animation to be a little bit more attractive and a little bit more interesting to a K5 user in this case. One of the things that we did, I mentioned that in the spotlight area, and this is what it looks like for an elementary school view. You'll have different in the spotlight areas for each of the K12 views. And these are all customizable at the district level. So I have here Britannica School Elementary, Explora, SERS, sort of the cornerstone resources that an elementary student might use. If you want to see the full list of elementary school resources, you can click on the all databases list. That's we've done this a little bit differently on all the views pages, but it gives me the full list of elementary school resources here on the main database page. So this all looks a little bit different on the elementary page than it does on others. And we've continued to provide the about information. And if you need updates added to your about information, you still do that through us. We're hoping that we can make this customizable soon. And for any of you who use the embedded Galileo search box or would like to use the embedded Galileo search box on your library web page or your learning management system pages, you can get that code for your embedded search box here in the tools area. I'll go ahead and click on that. And this is the code for the embedded search box, in this case for the elementary page, because that's where I am. You see it's embed elementary. So if I'm on the different views, if I want to put this on an elementary class page, I can do that. And this is the elementary school search that I mentioned with the limits applied. If I'm in the middle school view, it'll give me the middle school search, which has some different resources within it. Our Galileo News is before pulls from the news feed, and we've added some options for system alerts. Another thing I didn't point out when we were in the support pages, just to point it out here, is we have added a system alerts there. So if someone is coming in, they're about to submit a support ticket and they want to see if there's a known issue, they can see that known issue quickly and easily there in the support page. Forgive me for not mentioning that when we were there, but just going back quickly to see that. So just to focus in on the Spotlight page once again, as I mentioned that is customizable at the district level, not at the individual school level. So it might take some coordination with your colleagues across the district to make sure that you get this something that everyone wants. But you are also not limited to just putting Galileo resources in here. If, for example, you wanted to put a link to a class guide or a link to something that all of your teachers need or all of your students in a program need, you can change it. Mike White, who is here today, is routinely providing training on how to make these changes in our new Galileo administrative suite. And if you would like to have that training or talk with Mike in more detail about that specifically, just reach out to us via a support request. I showed you the support request forms earlier. Just fill out the technical request form and we'll get that. And we'll talk with you about the different options in more detail and getting trained to update the Spotlight area. So that is what the elementary view looks like. I'm going to change to the educator view just so you can see an everything we changed look at Galileo, and then we'll kind of cycle back through the other views. As I mentioned, if I want to change views, it's easy to do from here. I defaulted in with an elementary school login, so I'm in an elementary school view. If I click on change view, it presents me with this screen. And some of you, I'm revisiting the question that kind of Mike hinted out earlier. What if I am on campus and I'm already authenticated to Galileo? What's going to happen? Is it going to know what view I'm in? What's it going to do? This is what's going to happen. You're going to get the opportunity as a student or a teacher to choose your view as it's presented to you on the page when you first get to Galileo. So if you're in your building, on your campus, and you click on Galileo, this is what it's going to present you with. It'll present you with the option to choose elementary, middle, high school, or educator. And as I mentioned, I wanted to go ahead and pop into that educator view. The educator view in the EDS search, it searches everything it possibly can. It is essentially full Galileo with the K12 suite of resources. I wanted to point out, again, major changes we made. You'll also see these pretty much paralleled in the high school site. Is we have our just databases by subject and databases by type were in Galileo before, but we've done some improvements here. You can now sort the number of databases in a particular subject, or you can view the list of databases alphabetically. One of the things that people have been asking us for right out of the gate, and we're going to work on it pretty soon, is there isn't really, even though this list is A to Z of subjects, we don't really have a true A to Z list of databases, but we're going to work through that and do that eventually. I'll talk about that in a minute. But these are alphabetical by subject, and one of the things that we've done is we've kind of trimmed down the number of subjects. We found that was overwhelming, particularly for K12 users and middle school users, but we have a core list of subjects now. We've done some subject mapping with those, and they should be a lot easier to navigate. We have the different views, but another thing that we've added each level of our views also as a searchable subject, or a subject that you can click on. So I can see there are 8 elementary school resources, and I can generate that list from the subject guide as well. That's the same is true for high school, middle school, and others as well. So that is the view of our subjects. Same with databases by type. We greatly reduced the numbers of these and mapped some of them together. We're still working on these. We may make some changes in the next iteration of Galileo, but we've cut way down on the total number of databases by type that we have. But you see, this is also an alphabetical list. You can do a numerical sort if you want to see what you have the most of. Articles with 135 in the case of Henry County Schools. But the A to Z resource, so if I'm a student and I'm coming in and I want to find encyclopedias, I can find that quickly and easily. Animal Kingdom, Britannica Fundamentals, all the Britannica listed there, easier to find in that subject view. Also with the subject views, I'll go back into the view all types, and the type views, we have facets, which is something that we didn't have before. And let me show you what I mean by that. You see that it lets me limit by search by full text, multimedia, by the different things that are included in these different databases. And I can also track back through by subjects as well. So I have 4 different things that are classified encyclopedias that are also in Georgia, or have Georgia in there. So if a student needs to find the new Georgia encyclopedia, that makes it a little bit easier for them to find, having that facet there. So I'm going to go back to Galileo main page. That is the facets, the databases by subject, the databases by type. Next thing I want to show you is we've added also a Galileo databases by subject type or name search. One of the things we wanted to enable our institutions to do, and you can do this again at the district level, if you've got unique local resources in your district and you want to add more metadata, tag those resources, or add new subjects to those resources, you can do that in the Galileo admin now. And again, that's something that Mike can talk with you about offline as part of a conversation about training that he's happy to have with you. But this is helpful. I use this. I don't know if there are any things that will classify as genealogy in K12. In this case, there were not all the things that you get in some views, but you see that it lets me search genealogy as a subject. Let me go back and do something that might be more realistic. Sorry about that. History as a subject here. So I get history reference center. I get this facets again, the types and subjects facets. But it lets me more quickly and easily find, sort by relevance or by name, or I can also increase the number I get per page on the search results list. And we just have a much better, cleaner, much nicer looking search results page in our database search than we've had previously. We've limited the amount of information that one has to see on the main page. You're not getting hit with a huge description right out of the gate. It gives you enough to guide you, but then it quickly gives you the more information button so that you can find more info. It also provides you the Express link. And the Express link, for those of you who may not be familiar with the Galileo Express links, if you wanted to put a link directly to the History Reference Center in your learning management system, in on your library webpage, you could do that by using the Galileo Express link. The Express link is simply that. It's a link that you can add that takes you directly to the database so that you don't have to go to Galileo. And that works like this. If you're on site in your school, it's just going to open up the database for them. If they are at home, it's going to prompt them for the Galileo password, and then they'll log in. So it works differently depending on where you are, but it's a great way to kind of circumvent having to go through Galileo, do all this searching and finding of things, and then just to go ahead and begin research immediately without having to have Galileo as that intermediary there. But you do also see that there's some more info. So if I need more details about this database, what it covers, other things, I can find those there. If I'm a student, say I'm a high school student, or I'm a teacher, and I say, well, I want to do more work in this history reference center, but I want to remember where it was later on, we've added a feature where you can email an item to yourself, a database to yourself. So you can just simply click email, and it'll open up a little modal that'll let you put in the email address, or you can text it to yourself. And we've already been adding new carriers. If you find a carrier isn't in here, let us know, and we will add that carrier. We've added a couple already from feedback we've gotten, but it's a matter of choosing your carrier, putting in your phone number, and then you can send it to yourself, which I think is an awesome new feature that we've added. Again, going back here to the educator views, a couple more things to share with you. As far as overall features, we have an all databases list. We want to go back and put an A to Z facet in here. We'll work on that soon. But if you want to just see everything you have access through in an A to Z list, you can. We have the all journals list, and this is the same as it was before. So if you have teachers or students who are looking for a specific publication and they want to see that list of publications, they can search for it or browse by alphabetical or browse by discipline, just as they were able to do before. And finally, the spotlight on the educator page routes teachers and media specialists directly to commonly used resources like the Professional Development Collection, which is an education database, ERIC, our ebook resources, our academic collection. So if you were looking for books on education theory or other things, you could find those in EBSCO ebooks. And finally, the Digital Library of Georgia for primary sources. So we wanted to improve that experience for educators as well in the educator view. You'll find that the high school view looks very similar. I just changed to the high school view. Again, mostly what we've done here in the high school view is we've taken out some resources that were probably not benefiting high schoolers very much. So hopefully the search overall has improved. And we have that list of databases, the same subject search, databases, all databases list. And we've added the Spotlight Search Discover for high school, Explorer for high school, Advanced Placement Source, Britannica High School. So we've just changed what's in the Spotlight by default. Again, keeping in mind that you could change those at your institution. And finally, the middle school view. We left the high school view based on some recommendations specifically from high schoolers. They wanted the high school view to be the same as the adult view in terms of the image. But this is the middle school view, which is just a different image. Again, different databases highlighted in the Spotlight with Middle Search Plus, ProQuest, Search Discover, Middle School, Britannica Middle, New Georgia Encyclopedia, because we know that is a requirement for K12 students to do Georgia-specific research, and the Digital Library of Georgia, because we know that they also look at primary documents, some there in middle school, particularly 6th grade with the National History Day project. So we tried to make them as customized as we possibly could to meet the needs of the population those different views serve. So, but again, we wanted also for it to be super simple for them to toggle back and forth between views. So for example, I know that you might get different grade level, needs across for a middle schooler. They might need to go back to elementary for a couple things, or hey, you might have an elementary who needs to jump into middle to find a couple of things that they need. So we wanted to make it easy for them to toggle back and forth quickly between those views and get what they needed. So that is everything I believe that I wanted to share about Galileo and the views, and I also wanted to leave some Q&A time for you all. Mike, I'll go ahead and put my slides back up and just make sure that I covered everything that I wanted to cover. But also, it's a great time for going ahead and letting me know of any questions that have come in since last I gave a break.
No questions so far.
All right. Well, I am going to pop up my slide presentation just to make sure I covered everything. I'll make sure that you get the slide presentation along with the recording as soon as I can put it together. It'll probably be Monday just because it takes a minute to edit that recording. I mentioned the different login options that you have, the K12 views. You'll get this slide, but this is just a detail of what happens when you access different views in different ways and how to change views. Just some highlights. I just wanted to make sure that I could point to, if everything blew up, what you see on the different views pages. And the educator view, the guest users. That's another thing that we did kind of change up a little bit. I don't know how often you all encounter a need to provide someone with a guest user login. If you're having someone in from out of state, or you're talking to someone from out of state and they want to access the statewide resources like Digital Library of Georgia, the free and open resources that we offer. We did do a guest users page to accommodate people who are coming in from out of state. This is just an overview of the different features that I talked about here. The Spotlight list, and again, as I mentioned, if you'd like to get training on updating your Spotlight, we can do that. I did want to mention the Digital Library of Georgia. That one of the things that we've changed substantially is you'll notice there are far fewer resources listed overall in Galileo. And that's because we made the decision to take most of the Digital Library of Georgia collections out. With the exception of some of the major collections like the Digital Library of Georgia itself, obviously, the Georgia newspapers, and the Civil Rights Digital Library. A few of their larger portals we left in Galileo because they're really frequently used. But some of the less frequently used tiny collections. The problem is Digital Library of Georgia has over 900 collections now, and we couldn't keep up with that, list them all in Galileo, and have a sustainable view or list of resources without really complicating it for our users. So we are really starting to view the Digital Library of Georgia and Galileo as distinct portals. So the Digital Library of Georgia did an update last year, and if you can't find a collection that you were using listed in Galileo anymore, you can certainly find it in the Digital Library of Georgia. You see that Explore area there. If you click on Explore, it lists all of their collections, all 900 or so of them, and you can find it there. There's also a search there on that page on the list for the collections as well. Just want to, again, I just added everything as an overview, making sure that you saw and get everything in the slides that I talked about. I did mention about Galileo and Galileo tools and training. The About Galileo pages, you can access them from the footer. You'll see the About. We have a new tools and training page that covers a lot of our tools, including our marketing toolkit and our new training page. I have created the new training page. It provides access to lots and lots of video content, both from Galileo and from our vendors. Any live training that we're doing, we're going to list it there and put registration for it there. We're also going to continue to put things out via the Galileo listserv, but just know that there is a dedicated training page there in that tools and training area. And that's what I had to share with you today. I thank you all so much for taking the time. We have about 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we cover any and all questions. Another thing I didn't mention, I have a link here, and it also is on the footer of the new Galileo pages. We have a feedback form if you want to give feedback on the new Galileo pages. And tell us what we can do better, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. We're happy to get that feedback here as you're using the new Galileo functionality. But that is what I had. Any questions come in, Mike?
Yeah, one question came in. In the old setup, I showed some high school students how to switch from high school to higher level, especially my IB students needed that. Is that still available?
To higher level,
I think what she's referring to is switching from high school to maybe in the past Galileo Scholar.
Yes.
Now there's not, and so now you.
But the essentially the equivalent. Yeah, you're right. We did used to have that Scholar view. I think you nailed it, Mike. The educator view provides them access to everything. The high school view is pretty close, but not quite. It's almost everything. But if they need to, if they're not finding everything they need, switching them to that educator view would be fine. that educator view, outside of the resources that we've put in the spotlight, the search on that page is designed to search all the databases, and the database list on that page will list all the databases. So if they're not finding what they need there, they'll find it on the educator page, and they can access and use it. We hope that they'll use that page with teacher guidance, but if they're not finding what they need on the high school page, that's where they can go. I hope that helps. But the difference between the high school page and the educator page, very minimal differences.
Yeah, and right now they're essentially pretty much the same, but we hope that over time that schools will want to add their educator specific resources to that view. So teachers, when they're doing professional development, they can go to this educator view.
Yep, that's a great point, Mike. Other questions? And I would say this: if you're used to using something with your students and you don't find it for whatever reason, we want to know, and that'll both give us feedback that we can use to continue to make those views better, and logistically it'll let us know what content from a content perspective we need to perhaps update there too. So please let us know if it's problematic. But short answer is the educator view should get them any and everything that they need. All right. Well, I thank you so much for your time here late on a Friday afternoon. It's been a pleasure to work with everyone. I've done a lot of training this week. If you have questions after the fact, we're here for you. You saw the support forms. You can email me directly. I want to thank Mike for coming in late on the day. And again, I want to apologize for messing up if I messed up anybody's schedule. But thank you all, and we hope to continue to improve Galileo and make it better for you. And your feedback is always helpful with that. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.